Oh, yes. Pineapple in
Falk, you
Oklahoma.
speak again?
Hey, hey, ho, ho. No?
No, I'm not hearing you in my headset. I'm hearing you because you're next to me.
We also might be down because they're not going to turn our microphones up until the show starts.
But I can hear you.
Because we're going to go live a
'Cause he's
couple minutes
important.
before we start, and then they're going to turn it. Can you hear it? I hear us, but like faintly. It's not as loud as it was during the rehearsal.
I can hear him. Can you hear me?
Not really. Not through
No.
my headphones.
No?
No.
That's better.
I hear
Yeah.
Chris, though.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
I'm just hearing you because I'm next to you.
Then what? There's got to be an issue.
Falky, hey, Rod, do you hear Falky?
Talk.
Falky?
Test. 1, 2, 3. Test.
I can't tell if it's through my
I know,
headsets
same
or
here.
out loud. But
Yeah.
but the thing is, we can hear each other, so.
You sure?
Yeah. I hear myself
I
like
hear
faintly.
you.
It's just not as loud. Yeah.
But why can't you hear me? That's the next question.
They're going to practice in full pads?
Are they?
No.
No, no. I don't think they're going to be doing anything serious either.
Yeah.
Look at that guy taking our picture.
Can you hear me, Brian?
Do you know we got the charge for that?
How come these guys can't hear me?
Falky's getting pissed, you guys. You guys better turn his volume up.
But Brian can hear me.
He's so vocal.
Is Facebook not working?
I think it's Facebook. Trainers here.
I would
I need
hope
to-
so.
Yeah, trainers like
Why are we here?
in the shade. Yeah. Smart. Nose okay?
Nose? Yeah.
Okay. You're good. Yeah.
It's always my upper lip.
And I can hear all you.
Put a little bit of moisture on it. A little bit of lip gloss. He's wearing lip gloss on the show. So, Darren,
Yes, my friend.
so you love Antonio Alfano, huh, from Colonia? So, Josh McKenzie, I'm sorry. I scared you.
What about
Whoa. What scared the mess out of you? What was that?
Got the echo going.
Now you got an echo going.
Holy cow.
Pigs in space.
The effects was ridiculous. So, McKenzie, what happened to him?
He tore his ACL out here.
Here.
It was here?
Yeah, third play of the game.
Were you here for that?
I was not. I was at two other. I was at Joe's.
What's the diagnosis?
What do we do on 95 offensive lineman? Do we stand there?
It's time for a special live edition of the Red Zone Roadshow, sponsored by RWJ Barnabas Health. Today we are coming to you live from Red Bank, New Jersey, here at Count Basie Field, where the Red Bank Catholic Casey's are busy practicing behind us, getting ready for their Week 0 matchup with St. John Vianney. Hello and welcome into season number 4 of the Red Zone Roadshow, sponsored by RWJ Barnabas Health. I'm Ryan Ross. As always, I'm joined by high school football recruiting analyst Chris Melvin and APP sports writer Steve Falk. And also joining us for today, we have NorthJersey.com sports columnist Darren Cooper joining us on the show. Guys, welcome here for a special preview edition, a special live edition of the show. Season number 4. Ready to kick it off?
Yeah, it was some hot news.
Very hot, especially out here today. news number one, we have new shirts. What do you guys think? Pretty nice, right?
I think
Right?
we stand
Very
out.
sweat wicking. That's the best thing I think I've seen so far.
We'll read the comments and get your fashion critiques after we're done with this. But we also have some changes coming to the Red Zone Roadshow for this season. In short, we're branching out. We're going statewide. We're going to use all of our resources of USA Today Network, New Jersey, North, Central, South, and, of course, the Shore. We're going to be spanning the state. And that's partly why Darren is here joining us today from North Jersey. Darren, welcome to the show. And now NorthJersey.com will be handling our 100-yard segment.
So I guess I'm officially a resource, right? Is that my term? I'm
Resource,
the
friend of the show.
Resource.
I've been part of the crew.
I am thrilled to be here, guys. I've been a fan of the show for the last couple of years, and I like the shirts. I look good in them. I think so.
The Red Zone's gone red. Imagine that. It took us 4 years, but we finally got that right. Chris, we're also going to be branching out our state recruiting tracker. We're going to be following along the top players in the states, keeping track of where they're going to school, where they're thinking about going to school, and, of course, how they're performing on the field. That's your wheelhouse. Who are some guys we should watch around the state?
Well, let's talk about around the state. The number one player I feel in the state happens to come out of Colonial. His name is Antonio Alfano. Darren knows a lot about the guy up there. He spent a couple years at Bergen
He played at Bergen Catholic for quite some time. Yeah, correct.
Exactly.
Yep.
And he's on his way to Alabama. All 6'4", 285 pounds, defensive end. And the Shore, modern day, has a couple recruits, about 4 or 5 of them. They're top guys around the area, if not the state. But the first guy that comes to mind is Isaiah Henderson. He's on his way to BC. He's a 6'4", 280-pound defensive tackle. He's a guy who's definitely the top guy among another 10 spectacular football players around the Shore.
Boston College, they love their Shore players. We're going to get more.
Got
They have one
commitments
from
already.
here, too.
Yeah.
We got one here. We got a couple around the Shore. You have a couple already up there playing. So I guess the Eagles have found a nice
Anthony
pipeline
Brown.
here at the Shore.
And Anthony Brown.
And Anthony Brown as well. Steve, let's bring you in as well. In addition to our new state recruiting tracker, we're also going to be having some state rankings. You and Darren will be collaborating on this to track not only the best teams in their respective region, but around the state.
And I think some of the best teams in the state, let's be honest about it, they're in North Jersey, starting with Bergen Catholic and DePaul, who I kind of call like small college teams in a lot of ways, but they're really,
We call
really
them Division IV colleges. Sometimes.
That's a good way to put
We
it.
call them
Division
Division
IV colleges.
Division IV colleges.
But they're
sometimes.
really, really talented, and they're really, really good teams, and it's going to be very fascinating to follow those teams.
St.
Yeah,
Peter's.
we start with our first statewide poll. Our first number one team is Bergen Catholic. They're the defending non-public Group 4 state champs. They bring a lot back. They bring back Aeneas DeCosmo, who's got offers on the table from a bunch of different places, Michigan included. They did just lose perhaps maybe their best player, running back Josh McKenzie, tore his ACL. Potentially tore his ACL in a scrimmage lately. Be interested to see how that plays out. And behind Bergen Catholic, you have the usual suspects up by us, and Joe's, Bosco, Paramus Catholic, and DePaul is very good, a wide receiver going to Ohio State.
St. Peter's is a
St.
bad.
Peter's,
That's not a bad team.
Masai Maynor is a fantastic quarterback, real athletic, and Coach Hansen always does a good job. He's got studs. I mean, they just play real well.
And right behind us on this field, our number one team at the Shore, taking on our number 2 team at the Shore in Week 0, Steve.
Yeah, we'll find out right away Friday night how good those two teams are when they play each other. Red Bank Catholic has a lot coming back, including Steve Lubisher, the Boston College commit, Kevin Bauman, who's a junior tight end but is committed to Notre Dame. St. John Vianney, very talented, but kind of in transition a little bit with a new coach and Joe Martucci, the former Madawan coach. But as always, there's talent at St. John Vianney, including some transfers. And a running back from Central Regional wound up there.
Well, they're going to be running back behind C.J. Hansen, who are committed to Rutgers already.
Right.
6'5", 290 pounds, right about 300 around there. So they're going to be running behind him with Chambers. That's not a question in my mind. That's what's going to happen.
And our final change to the show this year, expanding our statewide coverage. Like we said, we're going to be hearing from reporters all around the state. They'll be checking in during each Red Zone Roadshow, North, South, Central, and the Shore. You'll be getting updates of what happened in the previous week and a little bit of a preview of what's to come. So be on the lookout for that. Speaking of changes to the show, we had changes to the actual football season as well, both here in the Shore and some new rules around the state. Steve, you've been following this.
Well, Shore Conference is realigned based on how a program performed over the last 3 years. It's now 7 divisions instead of 6. Changes to the NJSIAA playoffs. The regular season's going to end a week earlier now. The playoffs will start a week earlier. And there's an extra round of playoffs now where the public schools get to play in bowl games, which are really state semifinals. And there's instant replay, which I know Darren has strong opinions about.
You got some pros and cons, right?
Man, I must be the new kid on the block. Yes, we do have instant replay. If both teams do agree, they'll use the huddle system for replay for, what is it, turnovers and scoring plays. There's a lot of talk about whether or not this benefits the game. I'm kind of pro instant replay. I feel like technology's invaded our lives in every other way. Why not high school football? I do have some concerns about how much time it'll take and what it'll be like when the weather's bad.
Exactly.
But I think the goal is to get every possible call they can correct, and if instant replay helps, then I'm for it.
I'm old school, but that's another story for another time.
We're going to find out what one of the coaches here at the Shore, specifically head coach of Red Bank Catholic, Frank Edgley, has to say about that. We're going to take our first break of our special live edition of the Red Zone Roadshow, a special preview show previewing the upcoming season live here from Red Bank. Coming up on the show, we'll be joined on set by Red Bank Catholic head coach Frank Edgley. We'll ask him some questions about these new rules and his team for the upcoming season. You won't want to miss that. Stick around. We have plenty of more live Red Zone Roadshow coming your way.
You guys line up behind him. Line up behind him.
The Red Zone Roadshow is back for its 4th season, and 2018 is going to be a little different. We've still got the players, the coaches, and of course the students. But now we're taking on the entire state, bringing you the top-ranked teams, the big-time college recruits, and updates from our sports reporters across the state. The Red Zone Roadshow every Wednesday at noon on APP.com, part of the USA Today network.
Thanks to our kidney transplant program, one that ranks among the nation's top 10, Jean isn't who she used to be. She's better.
I'm still here.
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Welcome back to a special live edition of the Red Zone Roadshow. We're on site here in Red Bank, New Jersey, Count Basie Field, where the Red Bank Catholic Casey's are busy practicing behind us, getting ready for their Week 0 matchup with St. John Vianney. And we now have a special guest on set. We're joined by Red Bank Catholic head coach Frank Edgley. Coach, thanks for taking the time to join us here today on our live show. Let's get started with your team this year. Number 1 in the Shore, one of the top teams in our rankings for the state, coming back after a strong season last year within a test and immediately to start this season. How's your team been preparing to get the season started?
Well, like anyone else, your current season starts when the previous season ends. Okay, we're very happy with the work we put in the off-season, the weight room. I think a lot of that's now coming to fruition on the field. We've had a good summer thus far, and so far at the camps, we walked away, relatively healthy. Okay, feeling pretty good about things. But the reality is you don't know till you know. The scrimmage season is productive, but also it's very limiting in terms of what you're doing, what you're showing, and what you can find out about your team. Fortunately for us, we had a number of guys coming back that have some 2, some 3 years experiences that we have a pretty good handle on what they do and do well. Now, what that translates into Friday night and beyond, we'll see.
This is a year of change, Frank, in the Shore Conference, and the Shore Conference has radically realigned. What are your views on realignment? Is it for the better of the game in the Shore?
Well, I like anyone else, there's people you talk to that fear change, not just in football, but in life. And for us, we're playing 2 Toms River schools, and I have with my background at Red Bank Catholic as a player and coach in multiple sports, I've never competed against those schools. Right. So to me, that's exciting. But I'll be honest with you, we were very happy with the way it worked out because for me, being a football traditionalist and playing at Red Bank Catholic, a lot of our old B North rivalries are still in play. From St. John Vianney, Long Branch, Red Bank, Ocean, Rumson's now back on the schedule. Right. And the good thing about it, I think, with what they're doing now, the ability year by year to change the schedule to make sure you're playing against certain teams, that maybe offer more of a PowerPoint opportunity because I think you could talk to any coach. No one's thrilled about the PowerPoint system as it is, and there's always people at the end of the season that have an outstanding record, but they find themselves traveling on the road. And the tough, challenging thing about being in non-public is it's not a matter of us being in Central Jersey or North Jersey. You can take an hour-and-a-half trip south, an hour-and-a-half trip north, and those things play a major factor. So we'll see how it turns out, but thus far, I'll be honest with you, I think I'm in favor of it.
And you worked in the NFL, where instant replay is a major part of that game.
Sure.
What are your views on it as far as being in high school football?
Well, I think it's great. I just think it's going to come down to both coaches and officials really knowing the rules as to what can be challenged. The unfortunate thing is not everyone right now has the technology to do it. Fortunately, we do. Okay, and I understand you got to partner with an opponent that has the equal opportunity. But like in the NFL, I mean, it's not flawless, and you need to now in the NFL model is you have a coach that's up in a booth that has the ability to look at instant replay. That his job is, coach, challenge that, get the red flag out. I think the philosophy of it and the spirit of it, I think is great. I think it's good for the game because no one wants to see an error dictate a game, especially you talk about how it plays out with PowerPoints and seasons. But I think it's definitely a good move.
Hey, Coach, you got some special talent. I mean, you got a hectic schedule, but you have some pretty good football players. You got one of the top seniors, and Steve Lubisher is headed to Boston College. Sure. One of the top juniors in the country, and Kevin Ballman is going to commit to Notre Dame. Let's talk about some key players besides those two. Who else do you have?
Well, that's an easy setup right there. Key,
huh?
I got to tell you, Jaden Key, wide receiver, cornerback, 3-year starter. This is a kid that's just an outstanding player, an outstanding person. And I tell you, a lot of coaches kind of oversell their kids. I mean, quite frankly, I mean, this kid is the easiest sell ever. And the word sell is misused here. This is a kid with a 3.8 GPA. He's a 13 and change SAT. He's a 3-year starter, and he is steady Eddie. He doesn't get high, he doesn't get low. And here's a kid who, at the next level, I mean, is he a corner? Is he a safety? Is he a wideout? How this kid right now does not have a major BCS offer, I find criminal. I really do. I mean, because he's the size, the talent, and beyond that is this is as safe an investment any program can make because this kid on and off the field and everyone in between is going to represent that program tremendously, wherever he ends up. Wherever he ends up.
Well, he's going somewhere, and I think so. Be big time.
I think so.
Head coach Frank Edgley in midseason form, picking up on Chris Melvin's vocal hints there. Coach, thanks for hosting us here live on the show here during your practice and taking the time for joining us, and best of luck Friday.
Great. Thank you very much, fellas.
Good luck Friday.
Red Bank Catholic
guys.
head coach Frank Edgley joining us live for our special preview edition of the Red Zone Roadshow, sponsored by RWJ Barnabas Health. We're going to take the final break of our live program, and coming back, Darren will rejoin us. We'll talk about the season, make some predictions, and we will unveil the location for Week 1 of the Red Zone Roadshow. You won't want to miss that. Stick around. Plenty of show coming up on the live edition of the Red Zone Roadshow.
Robert promised his granddaughter he'd make it to her next birthday. Thanks to New Jersey's only lung transplant center, he'll make it to many more.
I'm still here.
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Your school has a chance to win $1,000 compliments of the Asbury Park Press. During the Red Zone Roadshow, the home team struts their stuff on the field, showing everyone their school spirit. The Red Zone Roadshow episode that gets the most views during their voting period by the end of the season wins the prize. We want every student, teacher, coach, principal, and board member out there rallying for their district. Share the link to Red Zone Roadshow episodes on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to rack up those views. Every participating home district has a chance to win.
Welcome back to a special live edition of the Red Zone Roadshow, sponsored by RWJ Barnabas Health. Ryan Ross hanging out with Chris Melvin, Steve Falk, and Darren Cooper live on set here at the practice for Red Bank Catholic. They're getting ready to take on St. John Vianney in Week 0. We have some more previews coming up for this season, so let's get right into the 2018 season. Some things to look for, some players, some teams to watch, maybe some surprises that might sneak up for 2018. Chris, let's begin with you.
I'm going to start here at the shore and probably end at the shore right now. But I like a kid from Mater Dei, 6'4", 182 pounds, Isaiah Austin. Doesn't have an offer yet. He has a 3.5 GPA. Spectacular ball. He missed 5 games last season due to injury. But as far as talent-wise, he's one of the top players, not just around the shore, but in the entire country. That's how I feel. The fact that he doesn't have these offers is because he played a limited amount of games. I think he's going to have a great season. Another player, Quincy Davis out of Freehold Borough, 6'6", 210 pounds. Lines up a wide out. About 2 years from now, he's going to be about 245. playing at a high level at tight end. So those two guys are guys who are going to stand out.
Certainly no shortage of talent at the shore and around the state. Like I said, we'll be tracking that all season long. Steve, let's bring you in. Maybe some teams, some storylines that you're going to be following in 2018.
Well, I think the storyline that both Darren and I are very curious about is to see how this new playoff system plays itself out.
This whole no section thing.
Yeah,
right?
the
whole
no section
the whole
thing.
No section.
I mean, to explain that very quickly, everybody's either in a super section right now in the public school ranks, north or south. When the playoffs are actually seeded, you're going to get branched into central if you're in south, or south, or north 1 and north 2.
Correct.
If you're in north. They're going to be, I'm guessing there's going to be 1 or 2 coaches at least who on cutoff weekend are going to have maybe confused over what section they're going to be in. I want to see what the reaction is because coaches are the biggest creatures of habit there is. They want to know who they're playing 4 and 5 weeks out from the playoffs, and they may not know until the thing is actually seeded.
I'm curious to see if the bowl games really resonate with our audience because winning a sectional title has always been a big deal in New Jersey. I must say, New Jersey and New York State are the only 2 states in America that do not play down to public school state champs because we have Long Island and New York State. And it's an old, quaint tradition. I'm sorry, Mr. Traditionalist, but I don't like that either. But the whole concept of, well, our North 1 champ's going to play the North 2 champ for what?
For what?
What do you win when you win that game? You don't really win anything.
Nothing.
You're the super sectional champ.
Nothing.
Really, what this is all pointing toward is that in 2020 we're going to have
course.
state champs. They're putting the Vies on Thanksgiving. They're trying to squeeze out the Thanksgiving Day games to give us another week in the schedule. But now to talk about this season up north, we never the non-public schools. It's so much fun because each of them have different philosophies. You know, Bosco's is different philosophy than St. Joe's, which is different than Paramus Catholic, which is different than DePaul, different than St. Peter's. So it's always marvelous to see which philosophy wins out. On the public school side, we've got 3 teams all in the same division, in Oltapan, Wayne Hills, and Ramapo, who do the same, who are outstanding, and we'll all play each other, and they'll settle number 1 for us.
It's the best time of the year. Everyone's in first place. The big-time teams and players have something to prove, and maybe some lesser-known players and some underdog teams will jump up and surprise us. Either way, we'll be following along all season. Check out all of the properties of the USA Today Network, New Jersey, North, South, Central, and the Shore, of course. We'll be bringing you high school football coverage all season long. That's going to wrap up our show live here on scene from Red Bank Catholic's practice. Thank you for tuning in and watching us, and be sure to follow the Red Zone Roadshow all season long because next week, for Week 1, we'll be at Point Pleasant Borough previewing their matchup with Manasquan, an old-school rivalry game, and 2 teams that met in the postseason last year with Point Pleasant Borough taking out some frustration, I guess, on their old rival Manasquan. So we'll be waiting to see what happens for this year's matchup as they kick off the season. Also, follow along the game of the week. We will be there for highlights Friday night. Check out those highlights Saturday morning on APP.com. And throughout the season, check out select episodes of The Battle Room as we go inside the locker room with coaches before their teams take the field. For Ryan, for Chris, for Steve, for Darren, thank you, everyone, for tuning in for our special live edition of the Red Zone Roadshow, and we'll see you next time in the Red Zone.